complete bio for our speakers, and since there are so many of them, I won't go through all of it, are in your programs, and I'll just make some brief introductions. Our first panelist is the manager for the Bicentennial Commemoration 200 Columbus. He is a founding principal of ACP Visioning and Planning, a community planning practice based in Columbus and New York, Jamie Greene. Next, the creative director and principal at I Am Creative, producers of inaugural idUS celebration. Please welcome Shannon Morrison. Next, this guy is a computational metallurgist. They had to put that in there, did they? By day, but by night he is the director of the Columbus Idea Foundry. Please welcome Alexander Bandar. The next panelist juggles his time as an aide to Franklin County Commissioner Marilyn Brown and as project manager for EcoSummit 2012, Michael Daniels. And we're privileged today to have as our moderator the executive director of the Near East Side Redevelopment Partnership, Don Tyler Lee. So on behalf of the Columbus Metropolitan Club and the Columbus Landmarks Foundation, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Don.
Thank you,
All
Rich.
yours.
Andy gave me some very specific instructions about this microphone, so am I doing okay, Andy? Okay. Please pardon me, I think I have a cold or allergies or something, so I'm a little congested, but I will try to project as best as I can. Thank you to Rich and to Andy and the CMC staff for the opportunity to lead what will be a rich conversation about a very unique series of events happening this fall from September 28th to October 8th. Just in terms of housekeeping, I have two items I want to mention. As I walked in today, my good friend W. Shauna Gibbs, CMC board member, told me to be funny and exciting. I am neither, but the conversation will be rich. And as I was eating my lunch, my younger brother sent me a text challenging me to mention his name in the word exquisite. So Kevin Tyler, you are exquisite. And for that, he owes me $50. But in all seriousness, let me provide a brief overview of how we got here. Unless you have been living under a rock, you know that this year we have been celebrating the 200th birthday of our great city. Over the past 10 months, CMC has hosted several forums focused on 200 Columbus, the bicentennial. You may recall that the 200 Columbus program was designed to last the entire year, divided into 3 phases: honoring our past, celebrating today, and envisioning our future. Believe it or not, we are on the verge of the final third of the year, envisioning our future. Today, we want to learn about a major program called idUS happening this fall. By the end of today's forum, everyone in today's audience will be expected to serve as idUS ambassadors, talking about it everywhere you go and helping our community get excited about this unique series of events. We have assembled a panel of guests who are involved in idUS in a variety of ways. They will help you get a better sense of what this unique series of events is all about. To create a dialogue instead of a monologue, I will ask a few prepared questions of each panelist, throw out a few general questions to all of the panelists if time permits, and then, of course, in CMC fashion, open the floor to questions from the audience. And before we dive right in, the first thing that we need to do to ensure that you, the audience, are equipped to be future idUS ambassadors is to make sure you know how to correctly pronounce the word. So with that, everyone repeat after me. idUS. idUS. All right, you're well on your way. So let's start with Jamie. Jamie, idUS is a great play on words, so kudos to the creative minds that came up with it. Can you tell us what is the idea behind idUS?
Sure, I'll try to do that and do that briefly. A couple of things about idUS. One is it really meant to be the signature event of the bicentennial program. You know, we want to be respectful of the past. We've always had this position that the bicentennial is more about where we're going. And related to that is the collaborative brand marketing work that's going on in the community right now that and many of you, if you've also been out from underneath that rock, have heard the words about Columbus and Central Ohio being smart and open. So this event was intended in large part to demonstrate and prove just how smart and open this community was. It's one thing to write copy points and prepare collateral material. It's another thing to live that. And what we discovered in the bicentennial process, which in many ways has been an all hands on deck in this community, a terrific amount of collaboration, is that there is so much authentically about us that is smart, competent, and confident. And we really want to find a way on a regular basis to prove that to ourselves. Because as some of you may know, the primary goal of the bicentennial was to really increase engagement and a sense of pride in this community. Try to overcome a little bit of that humbleness that we seem to be ingrained and show a little swagger, as the mayor might say.
Thank you. Can you tell us about its origins? And I understand that the ID in IDEUS stands for Innovation and Design. Why Innovation and Design?
Innovation and Design. A couple of things. One is that we wanted to have something at the end of the year that really gave us a strong, authentic platform to talk about who we are. And we started looking around at what was going on in this community, from things like the EcoSummit, which Michael will tell you more about. That's pretty a phenomenal thing that this community is pulling off, to the work that's happening with the Idea Foundry, to the work that's happened in Battelle for decades that have made a big difference, that we really felt like innovation was something that we could authentically own in this community. The other part about design is that there's a terrific amount of talent in this community in the design fields, building design, architecture, art, food now, we put that in the art category, fashion, and we needed to lift up design. Related to that is some really important research that came out by the Gallup organization about 2 years ago that was really looking at the root causes of prosperity in communities. They did a 3-year study looking at cities across the country, and they determined that perhaps the most significant driver of economic prosperity was the level of emotional attachment. And one of the key parts about that emotional attachment was the quality of place and the quality environment. So design is really important to us. The other 3 attributes are social capital and openness. And I think the Smart and Open City is working on that as well. But that's really the driver behind that. And the U and the S, the us, you should be seeing that, whether it's Experience Columbus or the Columbus Sports Commission, the Chamber, the partnership, you should be seeing us all over the place. So IDEUS was intended to extend that.
So Jamie, who's the target audience for IDEUS?
Anybody with a curious mind, right? If you're 5 and you're curious, there's a place during these 11 days. You know, if you're 95, there's a place for you in this. So my sense is anybody with a curious mind that cares about the future of this community, there is programming by virtue of our many, many collaborators in various venues and events that something will be there for them.
Great, and before we move to Shannon, Jamie, one final question for you right now. Was IDEUS created exclusively for the bicentennial celebration, or is there a long-term strategy associated with it?
It was initially an idea that was meant to celebrate this last third of the year, but based on the collaborators, which you're going to hear more about, and the energy around it, and our sponsors like Battelle, Honda, Cardinal Health, Ohio, there's been so much positive conversation about what's happening this year that they can't imagine not doing it in the future. So we really are building it this year with the idea that it would perpetuate itself.
Great, thank you. And now I'll move to Shannon, who is down there. Shannon, I understand over our lunch conversation that you've been in Columbus for about 2 years from New York City. What makes you excited and confident about the potential of a multi-day program like IDEUS?
Well, Dawn, I want to answer your question, but first, there's a lot of stuff at all of your places at the table. Could everybody grab a piece of IDEUS paraphernalia and hold it up for me, and I'm going to tweet that photo.
That's why he works for I Am Creative.
Don't move. Come on, iPhone. Got it. Awesome. Dawn, your question was what makes me optimistic about IDEUS?
Yes, excited and confident.
Excited and confident. Well, I'm both of those. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
I'm excited about the program for a couple of reasons. First, because of IDEUS's genesis in the bicentennial, it's a real opportunity to give a long-lasting gift to the city that can extend far beyond the bicentennial. As you mentioned, this is the final third of the year. We're looking toward the future. And it's important that there be a longer-term vision for the future, and IDEUS can really be a part of that. Secondly, you know, when my partner Scott and I were looking to relocate from New York, we looked at a lot of cities that were considered the usual suspects to us. The San Franciscos, the Washington, D.C.s, the Austins of the world, and none of them really met all of our criteria. I didn't have the words for it at the time, but now I've learned that what I was looking for was a smart and open community. And I think that IDEUS, as the mayor talks about swagger a lot, IDEUS can really walk the walk of a smart and open community. We can't just talk about it, we got to do it. And IDEUS really crystallizes those ideas around innovation and design that shows that we're a city to be reckoned with.
Great. So let's really get into what the programming is all about for IDEUS. Jamie mentioned that people from 5 to 95 should come and people with curious minds should come. So what are they coming to? What will they see? What will they do? What will happen?
So I like to talk about IDEUS as a constellation. There are lots of great stars of innovation and design, some of which Jamie already mentioned in our community, the Ohio State University, Battelle, Ohio Health, Cardinal Health, and all of the organizations that have events that are now happening during IDEUS. One of our goals was to take all of those stars and put them together into a constellation that really tells the story of Columbus as smart and open innovation and design capital. So over the 11 days of IDEUS, you'll experience all of the different independently produced events from our collaborators, but there's also some unique IDEUS programming as well that we've layered on top of that to try to add some connective tissue to what our collaborators are presenting and also to present some new ideas.
That's great. Are there other events around the country or even around the world that you would compare to IDEUS?
Yeah, so everybody, when they think about a big multi-day festival, is going to think about South by Southwest in Austin. South by Southwest started as 120 people listening to music in some dude's garage. And now it is the place to be, both from a music standpoint as well as from a film and interactive standpoint. It has just grown to be a huge economic driver for that community. While I would like to talk about IDEUS from purely a creative innovation and design perspective, it really is intended to become an economic driver for this community, but we've got to establish its reputation first.
Great. And you talked about collaboration, and we'll turn to Alex and Michael in just a moment to talk about some of the collaborative events. But collaboration is really a key element of IDEUS. How are you integrating programs from other collaborators?
So there was a relatively lengthy process that was begun by our good friend John Angelo that Scott and I picked up in collaboration with everyone working on the bicentennial to evaluate what are some of the other needs to help connect the various collaborator events. While lots of things have been thrown out on the table, in our first year, our primary objective was to get everybody in the sandbox together. You got to get everybody in the sandbox before you can build the big castle. So we wanted to create an event in this first inaugural year that was really achievable. So Pete McGinty and his team at Fulgren Mortine have done a great job creating a branding system that all of our collaborators use in their own unique ways to reach their particular audiences. But there's also a couple of unique pieces of programming that IDEUS is putting forth. We call them colabs. They're collaboration laboratories. And the genesis of the collab was to really take the principles of innovation and design and make them accessible for people who might not think that innovation and design should matter to them. They touch on areas of social innovation, culinary innovation, and of course design innovation in really unique, interactive ways.
Now, we were in a meeting, I think, last month, and you talked about the collab concept, and I was really intrigued by it. Can you share a little more about how the collab idea will work?
Yeah, so they will be workshops for between 75 and 200 people that happen over the course of the IDEUS time period. The first collab that conveys social innovation, we've titled You Are Where You Live. It includes a poverty simulation, as well as a mobilization for people who are moved by that simulation to be able to engage with all of the different social service providers in our communities to make a real substantive difference. The second, with regard to culinary innovation, will take place at Columbus State Community College that has a great culinary program. They were involved in the first trimester of the year. At this culinary collab called the Artist Palette, you'll get to taste all of the different ingredients that combine to make a really complex dish, and then at various stages throughout the preparation of that dish, you'll get to taste them. I love to eat, but I have no idea what cumin does. That's the point of this collab, is to show you what cumin does and how it's gonna change chemically as heat is added to it or as it's combined with other ingredients. That's the Artist Palette. Then the third, which is really about technical and design innovation, is a team-based competition called Mission Possible, where we solve an issue that's plagued humanity for decades. For example, cracking eggs. How does one do that cleanly and effectively? Under the tutelage of innovation and design experts, teams will design a new product to actually complete that task, and then we'll have a panel of experts who will evaluate those, and some of them will be rapidly prototyped and talked about in some of the media plan that we have and at other idUS events.
Great, thank you. I will also be in the culinary collab, so sign me up for that, please.
Done.
Let's move to Alex from the Idea Foundry. And quite frankly, Alex, I was not familiar with the Idea Foundry until preparing for this conversation, but as I visited your website, I'm very excited about what you're offering. Can you talk first about what the Idea Foundry is?
Oh, sure, happy to. Like Dawn, I received some instructions to be less speechy and more interactive-y. So towards that goal, I'd like to see who here has heard of the Columbus Idea Foundry. Wow, that's actually more than I expected. Well, what we do is we fill a gap between people who have an idea and would like to make that happen and how to do that. So again, I'll be a little interactive. How many people have an idea for a product, an art project, or an invention, or know someone who has something like that? Okay. And how many of you know how to make that? Know how to actually bring it into reality? I see 1 or 2, 3 talented folks. I'd like to see everyone here who has that idea, doesn't know how to make it happen, come on down to the Idea Foundry, because what we do is we have lots of tools from conventional fabrication, woodworking, blacksmithing, metal casting, to high-tech toys like laser cutters, 3D plastic printers, computer-controlled milling machines, and we teach people how to use our tools. And once you know how, you can buy a membership, come to our shop, and use our workshop like it's yours. So if you don't have your own tools, don't have your own know-how, now you do. And I feel that that's the missing gap between how to take an idea out of your head and put it in your hand. There are a lot of resources on the internet, from how-to design resources, software, such like that, but not a lot of people have a welder in their garage, and that's what we're trying to fill.
Alex, I'm a production guy, and so speak into the mic.
Thank you much.
Thanks for giving that background, Alex. I do have an idea for an invention, and I'm not going to tell you guys what it is because I don't want anyone to take it, but it's going to make me my millions, so we'll be in touch after the forum. So you were one of the collaborators for idUS, and your event is the Mini Maker Faire. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Columbus Mini Maker Faire is an event that's sponsored by the Columbus Idea Foundry. It's going to be at COSI on Saturday, September 29th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., all-day event, and it's an opportunity for Central Ohio innovators to showcase what they've been making in their garage, in their basement, on their high school robotics team, on their model railroad team, things like that. Showcase to Columbus, maybe network, maybe share some tips and tricks, maybe sell a product or two, certainly get some press. And that event has been born out of what we call the maker movement. For the last few years, actually for the last generation or so, high schools have not taught people how to do woodworking, how to do machine shop, how to do metalworking. And consequently, we have a generation of people who want to innovate, have lots of ideas, but don't necessarily know how to do that. So the maker movement is the grassroots solution to making ideas whole. So folks across the web and across the nation have been teaching themselves how to make things and then sharing those ideas, normally over the web or through magazines and such like that, what maker fairs are a physical festival where people can come and showcase what we're doing, share a few ideas, trade tips and tricks, like I said, and really be a physical celebration of what folks are doing. It's very much DIY arts and technology, innovation and design, and I think Columbus is extremely well suited to doing that.
So it sounds like the Mini Makers Fair could have easily been its own standalone event. Why was it important for you to be part of IDEAS?
Actually, that's a great question. The Maker Fairs evolved from a media company called Make Magazine. They have a magazine and a website. They aggregate thousands of step-by-step DIY recipes for how to make everything from cupcakes to cars. And those have evolved into physical events, these festivals that happen first in San Francisco, then in New York, now in Detroit. Those are the parent Maker Fairs. And those have been licensed to local cities under the name of a mini Maker Faire. So we've been soliciting that license. We're the Ohio licensee for the mini Maker Faire. And if you pull 1 or 2 or 3 off successfully, then you can graduate to the Maker Faire. So we've been planning on doing that for a while, actually. And when we were approached by IDEAS, we realized how perfectly that dovetails with smart and open. We teach people how to do things. That's very smart. We share the ideas and the plans and those recipes. That's very open. So it's an absolutely perfect match.
Great, thank you. And now we'll move to my friend Michael Daniels, who will talk about EcoSummit 2012. There's been a lot of buzz in the community about the EcoSummit. Michael, tell us exactly what the EcoSummit is.
EcoSummit is an international event. It happens every 4 years, and this is the first time that it will be in the States. 12 years ago, it was in Copenhagen, and then it was in Halifax, and 4 years ago, it was in Beijing. This is the first time it will be in the States, and the last time for probably some time that it will be in the States. It's an international conference that brings together just a little over 1,500 scientists, government leaders, business innovators, industrialists, et cetera, all talking this year about sustaining and restoring ecosystems. We have folks coming in representing over 75 countries. We have 2 Pulitzer Prize winners, a Kyoto Prize winner, 2 Stockholm Water Prize winners, which is the equivalent of the Nobel in water and wetlands restoration. And we actually were to have a Nobel laureate attend. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of months ago. We'll be doing a memorial to her with a variety of her graduate students who are all coming back to honor her. So it's quite an extensive and well-respected international scientific program.
So it's exciting that Columbus will be on that international stage. Why do you think EcoSummit chose Columbus?
EcoSummit, it works sort of like the Olympics. They pick the next venue on the last day of the current conference. So we were actually chosen for EcoSummit 4 years ago at the end of the Beijing conference. And I think the reason is because the folks who worked on EcoSummit, and that is the Ohio State University and MORPC, I have come to this late to the table, and so I've done none of the work. And I appreciate the folks who have very much. They're all sitting out there. But I think what we were able to do is to convince the world in Beijing what we all know, and that is that we have the perfect mixture of a great city to come to have a conference with fantastic partners at the government level, at the industry level, at the academic level. We certainly have one of the world's premier research institutions in this area in the Ohio State University. And so I think we were able to convince them that we had all of the right parts to put this together and to be the perfect host city for this. And my understanding is that there was very little question that Columbus rose to the top among all of the other competitors.
Wonderful. And I'll ask you a similar question that I asked Alex. This is very easily its own standalone event, but why combine it with the IDEAS?
And I think that we're blessed in that our event was set 4 years ago. And so we're actually very honored that IDEAS sort of grew up around the dates of EcoSummit. We had set the dates for this quite some time back, and we're really honored that this has become sort of the cornerstone event around which the remainder of the IDEAS project has been built, that folks recognize that this is really world-class in terms of the innovation, the design, the creativity, and the science that's coming to the table for this conference.
And what opportunities are there for the general public to experience and hear about this extraordinary event?
There are a variety of ways that folks can get involved. You can, if you'd like to come every day to the conference, you may happily register for $675 and come to every single one of the symposia, and we'd be happy to help you do that. The other thing, there are a couple of options. One is that on the Wednesday, October the 3rd, there is a break in the EcoSummit, and there is a one-day sort of mini summit on sustainability sponsored by MORPC. It's MORPC's annual event. That's a $75 event, and it will be sort of a mini taste of EcoSummit. So if you can only come for one day, that would be a great day to do that. If you can only come for a couple of hours, I encourage you to take the VIP tickets that are at your table and come between the hours of 11 and 1 and visit at least the exhibition hall. I think that that will be an amazing way to see a lot of the folks who are coming together, and the partnerships that we've put together with the partnership, Columbus 2020, CDDC, ECDI, our friends at Experience Columbus, who are all coming together to showcase the region. The other way that you can come is you can go to the website, ecosummit2012.org, look at the program, which is fairly extensive. If you want to hear E.O. Wilson or Jared Diamond or Stuart Brand, you can do that. All you have to do is volunteer for the other half of the day. That's a shameless plug for volunteers. But we are, with MORPC and OSU, we are setting that up so that if you volunteer your time for half a day as an ambassador to EcoSummit, you can attend the other half day of the conference at no charge. Where else do you get that kind of opportunity?
Wonderful. And Shannon, how do people participate in the collabs and the other components of IDEUS?
So idUS.us is our website. There you can find information on all of our different collaborator events. And launching in, I think it's another week or 10 days, will be our own unique IDEUS collab registration that all of our collaborators will also have a small piece of. And that's a market research tool that we're appropriating from our friends at Lexton called Prime, where individuals are asked to choose an image and words that, to them, say innovation and design in Columbus. And those assets are then used to create a unique name tag for all of the collabs. It's important to note that while each of the collaborator events have a very specific audience and some of them are ticketed, while we do ask folks to pre-register so that we can figure size for the collabs, they're completely free.
Great. And Jamie, we talk about Columbus being smart and open. As a very diverse community, how are we advertising ideas to communities of color, different socioeconomic groups, and to young professionals to ensure the openness of the events?
Right. So we, under the leadership of Falgren Wartime, we have a very comprehensive communications and outreach program, and we're building on the program that the bicentennial already has in place. Some of you see the Twitters and the Facebook postings about 200 Columbus. We're building on that, and we have somebody specifically working on that team who works on the diversity issues. But we, this is something that has been one of the core objectives of 200 Columbus from the beginning, is making sure this is open and accessible, inclusive of anybody who cares about the future of this community.
And Alex, I'm sorry if you said it already, but is there a cost associated with the Mini Makers Fair?
There is a nominal fee. You can buy tickets online at columbusmakerfair.com, another shameless plug. And I think it's around $5 for children, $10 for adults, and there are family packages there too.
And Shannon, I remember you talking about the IDEUS space that will be open as part of the event. Can you share a little bit about what that includes?
The IDEUS space has been intended to be an immersive experience of innovation and design in Columbus. Lots of factors have contributed to this. The IDEUS space has been tabled for 2012, but we aspire for it to be a part of the 2013 program and will be a really exciting piece of the IDEUS program moving forward.
Great, so that'll be something for us to look forward to next
Amen.
year. And Jamie, it's apparent that efforts like this need resources. Can you tell us how the funding has come together for this program, and are there opportunities for additional sponsors? Or do you have all the money you need?
No, we could, no. No, we could actually do a little bit of that collection here today, so we could pass the hat. We've been very fortunate throughout the bicentennial to have strong support from the corporate communities, from the Huntingtons, the Dispatch, the AEP, largely nationwide, limited, and the foundation have been very supportive. But specifically for IDEUS is that Battelle was the first one who really expressed interest in this. So they are the lead sponsor in supporting us, followed by Honda, Cardinal Health, and Ohio Health. But Battelle is very interested in the long term and how they can tie even their annual programming with R&D Magazine, how that can be leveraged, with this particular event. So it's been extraordinary, but those are the sponsors and those are the money, but there's a terrific amount of human capital being put into this effort right now. I mean, just what, Michael is doing with the EcoSummit in and of itself is a Herculean effort. But every one of these collaborators, whether it's, the Center for Architecture and Design and what they're doing, or the Film Festival, there's a huge amount of people behind this making it actually happen. The committees for the bicentennial, the GCAC led, the celebrations group, I mean, it's just phenomenal what people have been willing to do and share. And to the point, we did identify the EcoSummit. It happened to fall on our third part of the year, so it was a bit magical how that worked. But everybody else that you see on the back of that card, whether it's CCAD or the Wexner Center or the Film Festival, they all chose, TEDx, they all chose to be together, to do this together. And from my perspective, and working in a lot of other communities, this spirit of goodwill and the spirit of collaboration that exists in this community right now is phenomenal. These folks could have all chosen to done their own thing, shined a light on themselves, but they wanted to shine a light on this larger community, and it's, to me, extremely impressive, and that in itself is a story.
So I have one more question for Shannon before I open up the microphone to the audience. Shannon, don't give me a hard time, we just met. But let me just highlight, for those of you, just to make sure you have the key components. IDEUS is September 28th to October 8th. The best resource for information is idUS, and for the EcoSummit specifically, EcoSummit2012.org. So we want to make sure that you're well equipped with all of the details about the 11-day event. So Shannon, my final question for you is, I want to make sure our ambassadors for IDEUS are fully equipped with everything they need to effectively talk about this unique series of events with their networks. So before we open the audience to questions, what 30-second soundbite would you suggest people use to get others excited?
Dawn, I have never said anything that only happens in 30 seconds.
Try today.
IDEUS is a celebration of innovation and design that takes place over 11 days in Columbus that consists of conversations, conferences, and interactive experiences that crystallize the identity of Columbus as a smart and open community.
Fabulous. That was awesome. Now, who wants to practice? Make sure you got it. That was great.
Dawn, if I could,
Please.
If you can't remember what Shannon just said, on the website there is a button that says "Spread the Word," and there are different versions. If you just want one sentence, or you want 3 sentences, or you want a paragraph, there are different versions of that that exist for you to use and help spread the word.
So while people are approaching the microphone, I'll just keep going. Tell me, any of our panelists, what do you want the legacy for IDEUS to be?
The legacy of IDEUS should be a point of pride in this community, that we take stock of what we've accomplished and our potential to do more. So to me, this issue about emotional attachment is that the IDEUS should be one of many strategies, but a key one in strengthening the emotional attachment we have to this place.
The key legacy of EcoSummit itself is, while this is a one-time event, we will not be back for IDEUS 2013. In fact, I don't think any of us want to do another one of these anytime soon. But the leave behind from EcoSummit 2012 is that we're working with Experience Columbus, the Convention Center, MORPC, and a variety of other partners, we will be leaving behind a comprehensive materials management and sustainability guide that will set Columbus far and away the #1 place to come if you wish to hold a green and sustainable conference. So all of the information that you need about how to do that. So if you are a group of accountants who want to come in, but you want to have a sustainability component into your conference, that's the legacy that we're leaving that will set Columbus apart moving forward.
Great. Just as a reminder before we start our questions from the audience, CMC records all of its forums for televised broadcast, streaming on CMC's website and the Columbus Metropolitan Library website. We ask that you introduce yourself and state your question. Phil?
Thanks. Phil Sorrentino, Humor Consultants. Ideas are a dime a dozen. It's the people who put them into practice who are priceless. What systems have you used to make sure that the ideas around this whole concept get actually implemented?
Thank you. Who wants to take that?
When you say this whole concept, I mean, are you talking about what Alex might be doing in his piece, or what might happen in a collab, or?
Take your pick.
Yeah, because I think they all would be a bit different in terms of how that would be executed. In terms of the program, the idea for getting us forward is that we're already beginning to build the infrastructure for this event. So that would be my take on the idea to carry this forward, is we're already making plans for how that might actually happen. In terms of specific events, you know, Alex, maybe you want to take a shot at what might happen out of the Mini Makers Faire.
Sure, happy to. Completely agree with the comment, too. And one thing that I can say, the Columbus Idea Foundry has been helping people make ideas for the last 3 or 4 years, and that we've got about 150 volunteers, members, associated friends who get around a good idea and make it happen. And that's all that we're about. And look forward to partnering with idUS for the next long while, too, to continue helping people make their ideas.
Phil, I'd say that there's a huge component of a collaborative framework that's been built here that will become the ongoing legacy. As you know, when an organization does something like this in a vacuum, when you have a one-off event, what happens is you put a bunch of people in a room, you get a whole bunch of ideas, and then they reduce those ideas to practice. When you have this kind of a collaboration, you put a whole bunch of people in a room, they come up with ideas, and you promote those ideas into practice. And I think that with this collaborative base has been a huge difference in the way we've seen being able to move forward with all these projects.
I also think that it will grow and change over the course of idUS's life. You know, one of the primary goals of the bicentennial was to create a community that's more proud and engaged, and there are so many great centers of innovation and design going on in Columbus. We've really focused in this first year on trying to reveal a lot of that to folks. But in the South by Southwest model, there are likely to be other collaborators who come to the table and ancillary events that come from the stone dropping in the pond of idUS that will ideally grow into creating some of that action. But our focus in this first year has really been about building pride and engagement.
Thanks.
Two last things, and then we will beat this one to death. Is that each of the collaborators, you should be paying attention to your question. We heard yesterday that the folks doing Design Week, the Center for Architecture and Design, are actually producing a document, a manifesto, after their series of programs that talk about design implementation ideas in this community. They'll be doing that. In terms of the bigger picture about the bicentennial and ideas, we do have an event on November 28th, which is the Bicentennial Summit. It's a bookend of the one that happened in 2008 where 1,700 people came together. But that is a point where we can take everything that we've learned this year, including the content of ideas, and begin as a community to frame where we're going to go. So there's another place for those ideas to have an opportunity for execution.
Thanks, Phil. Commissioner Brown?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Brown, and I am the chairperson for the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission Board. My question is to any of you who would like to respond. I am very involved in EcoSummit with The Ohio State University and MORPC, and as this EcoSummit is unfolding during the course of the week of ideas, I'm wondering, as I listen to all of you present what's going on during ideas, have any of you thought of sustainability in what you're doing during that week of EcoSummit? And if you are there ways that the other ideas programming can participate in maybe the EcoSummit exhibit? Or we've got this huge exhibit hall that's going to be going on during that week, and if some of your projects are made of sustainable materials, would that be something we could highlight? If your program is the 28th, could we highlight that? Should we not be working in conjunction with what you're doing?
I think there are two questions at the end. The answer were yes and yes.
So talk amongst yourselves
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get it
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Is
No,
what I would say.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I saw Alex nodding his head out of the corner of my eye about the things that are being created that Saturday, that if they have that kind of orientation, that we can move that into the exhibit hall, if that makes sense. You know, how can we actually
we're all
leverage?
about collaboration
Yeah.
at Morpsey, and as we're working on getting this EcoSummit exhibit hall together, we've got Wexner Center
Right.
involved, we've got this film festival, there's so many things
Right.
going on at EcoSummit,
Right.
and you're talking about all the great things you're doing. We'd just like to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
a lot of collaboration.
Yeah. And our key word, Commissioner Brown, is the leverage piece. We've been trying to leverage that. And so yesterday, actually, somebody from your team was in the collaborators meeting with us, specifically talking about how to leverage what's going on with the film festival into the film work that you're doing inside the exhibit hall. So some of that is actually taking place, but I think we could all take another look and see how we can make that richer.
Thank you.
And I'd like to quickly add to that too. Like Shannon, 30 seconds is a little too short to really do the elevator pitch for everything that we're doing at the Idea Foundry and by conjunction at the Columbus Mini Maker Faire. One of our Halo projects that we're developing in-house is an all-electric street-legal hot rod. So it's something we'll be showcasing at COSI, and in fact has received a number of endorsements from various institutions and individuals in Columbus, and it's designed in the shadow of the Buckeye Bullet. You know, Columbus is, well, the world's fastest electric car. The director of the CAR has blessed our project and in fact offered batteries from last year's Buckeye Bullet to our car, but our car is going to be street legal, something you can bring to a high school and be an example or demonstration of innovative design, engineering, and sustainability. So very happy to talk about doing that.
Our next question.
Hi, my name is Peter McCoy. I actually sit on several outside professional advisory groups and also sit on commissions to talk about career tech education and technology education and trying to get project-based learning as a part of the way kids are taught from kindergarten all the way through secondary education. And of course advancing that into making things again and into technology and innovation, et cetera. And I'm an architect. And so I was just at one of these conferences in Cleveland last week and have never heard of your thing, Alex. It's fascinating. I love the idea. And obviously career tech education has tried to do a similar thing in the public sector. Sounds like you're in the private sector doing this really cool thing with rapid prototyping and making tools available to people with ideas. Have you engaged the career tech community and the technology education community and maybe Metro High School? I mean, what is your collaborative program or mission as it involves people in the public sector that have been doing the same thing you're trying to do and have been doing it for a long time? So.
Yep, appreciate the tie-in to career tech, and the shortish answer is if you have a machine shop or workshop, I've learned you can do a lot more than just build things. If you teach classes, you become a grassroots educational center. If you provide studio space, you become an arts community. If you provide things like business services, order fulfillment for a few folks who are making things out of their studios, then you become something of a business tech incubator. And if you reach out to high schools, you become an educational outreach provider. We do all of this, and we've been looking to make better inroads with the career tech industry. And when I mentioned the Center for Automotive Research gave a little blessing on our electric car project, the Ohio Department of Education wanted to know if we could make kit cars or component car versions of our hot rod that we could sell to career tech schools. So senior students might be able to actually build their own hot rod, not just take another welding class or build another remote control robot, something that's viscerally engaging. There's a whole lot of art and tech in the project too. Really exciting heads-up display goggles that look like 1920s riding goggles, fitting with the old hot rod motif. And one thing regarding all of the splendid resources currently available in STEM schools like Metro or colleges like OSU, there are plenty of resources out there for people who are in those pipelines. Once you graduate, you're at the top of your game academically, but you've lost access to those tools, those resources. What we're trying to provide is the end spot for recent graduates, industrial design, engineering, art and tech, come to us and use our resources like they'd been using before. And I think that makes a lot of sense to blend and mesh better with the institutional educational groups in Columbus. So I would very much like to chat. Please come up and talk to me afterwards. Thanks. There you are. Thank you.
Our next question.
Hi, my name is Urko Wood with Hole in the Wall Consulting. And I was curious, I've heard bits and pieces of the results that you're each looking for. And I know a lot of the engagement and excitement is wonderful in its own right. But could you reiterate some of the results? Because I found in doing idea generations, often a year later, people are very flat and disappointed because what the real desired outcomes were not clear. Could you say a little more about what you'd like to see at the end of this period in terms of results?
I think I can talk to the larger ideas piece, but all of the individual events folks would have their own expectations. And as an architect, I could speak a little bit about the Center for Architecture and Design in terms of what they would like to see the outcomes be. You know, I think that they clearly want to increase a greater appreciation for the built environment and tying that back to larger prosperity and emotional attachment in this place, to have a greater value system about how we create and shape what's around us. And so I think part of that's just general awareness, but the long-term outcomes they'd like to see is a much more attractive, sustainable physical environment. That's a long-term, some of those things are generational in their outcomes. The film festival folks might be, one of their outcomes might want to have a place where we're known to have this creativity so that other talent can be attracted here as part of that sort of culture and that industry ultimately. I think they would measure that in that particular way. There may be specific ones that you have, Alex, about where you see the Idea Foundry going by virtue of being involved in something like this.
Sure. As an engineer and a reluctant entrepreneur, I am only now understanding exactly how important it is to promote your mission, especially if folks in Columbus have to go to Cleveland to find out about similar missions. So by virtue of being able to partner with someone who can get the word out, with people who know how to brand and make me speak closer to the microphone, I think that's certainly a result that I'm extremely looking forward to leveraging. So if there is this constellation of people around the Central Ohio doing their own thing, if you can put them all in one place, shine a bright spotlight on that, that becomes a self-feeding, amplifying loop where people see it, they want to get involved, they do more, next year it grows, and that's something I'm extremely eager to be part of.
Right. Your question, I think, implies a lot about expectations. And I'm very mindful that in 2007, when Mayor Coleman appointed the Bicentennial Commission, you know, he wanted that group of 230 people to come up, take the input from thousands of people. We had thousands of ideas that resulted in something called the Blueprint for the Bicentennial that had about 33 priority items in there. And a lot of those have happened. You know, this collaborative brand marketing effort that's going on in the community is really a phenomenal effort that's happened. You know, doing something with that mall that used to be a couple blocks away was one of those pieces. So I guess I would want to give you and others confidence that when we leave this space, we're going to execute in a similar way as we did in 2007 and 2008 as a community to take some raw ideas, some ideas that may have seemed, you know, not very likely to happen, but enough conviction, enough passion came around them to see that it happened. And then we need people like you to say, well, what happened to that? You know, keep beating the drum because that was a good idea. There are a lot of great ideas. Many of them have been executed in the last few years, but we're going to set a new agenda here with this Citizen Summit. And then you'll all help us implement them and keep us accountable for making sure they happen.
Thanks, Jamie. And as Rich comes forward to close out today's forum, I'd just like to thank our panelists and also all of you who are now IDEUS ambassadors. Hopefully you're armed with the information you need to talk about this series of events throughout our community, and we appreciate your involvement in today's forum. Rich?
Thanks, Don. Well, since the purpose of the Metropolitan Club is to promote conversation, we're really excited about IDEUS because there's going to be a lot of conversation going on, and that's terrific, and we're glad you had the opportunity to share some of it with us today. And we'll keep beating the drum about September 28th to October 8th. Thank you. Want to make sure that you all sign up for next week when Chief Justice O'Connor will be here and talking about the funding for the courts. Also sign up for the celebration on August 29th. It'll be a lot of fun. There'll be food and libations there. Bring a friend, particularly a friend who wants to become a member. We're going to continue the conversation with cookies and coffee out in the lobby after we take a picture. Remember, we have to hang on for a second. I want to thank our partner today, the Columbus Landmarks Foundation, and our speakers, Jamie Greene, Shannon Morrison, Alexander Bandar, Michael Daniels, and thank you, Don. Thank you all for coming.